Hello, everyone. I'm Pastor Muyiwa. I'm the lead pastor of Citizens of Light Church, and this is Freedom on Air. Remember, yesterday I told you we're going to start a series, and the title of the series is Vertical Living. Glory to God, as against horizontal existence. Okay. The essence of this video is to communicate some important things to you that I believe will help move your life forward. To some dimensions that you will go like, wow. Like I never imagined I would be here, at this stage of my life. All right, and then to also give a greater meaning to your existence and to your life. All right, I'm going to start by reading a scripture, to you, or some verses to you that will help you, bring perspective to the conversation that we're about to have today. And Job chapter 28 and verse 5. I'm going to read the Message translation because I love Message translation a lot. All right, and it says, Earth's surface is a field for grain, but its depth are a forge, firing sapphires from stones and chiseling gold from the rocks. Look at what he's saying here. Every time we read God's word, I always say there's no need to read in a hurry, especially because you're not in competition with another person. There's no syllables. Now, I always say in church when I preach that the essence is not to finish my note, because we're not in comparison. We're not racing against another church. We're not there saying the teaching is not in comparison to what another church is saying. Like, have you guys finished syllables, and everything like that. So I love to take my time. Same thing when you read God's word. It's always good to take your time, all right, and to just pay attention, to some things so that you don't miss out on important information or insight that God wants you to have. The first thing he says to us here in Job 28 verse 5, he says, Earth's surface is a field for grain. So he says, surface, a field for grain, all right. Then he says, but its depth are a forge, firing sapphires for stones and chiseling gold from the rocks. So he says simply, earth's surface, it says for grain, all right, and the earth's depth, okay, for sapphires and for gold, all right. And the surface, earth's surface, I'm going to talk about that being horizontal, and then it says the depth where it talks about sapphires and gold. I'm going to talk about that as vertical living, all right. And another title for this series could have been Go for Gold, all right, could have been, but I just feel like vertical living will resonate much more than Go for Gold. For many folks, many of us, all right, our lives are quite horizontal, and there's nothing wrong, because we are all going to start from that phase, start from that dimension of life. You're going to start from that horizontal dimension. So it doesn't matter where you are now or how deep you are in the ground. At some point in time in your life, you started horizontal. So if you are still in the horizontal dimension of existence, it's okay. There's nothing wrong, all right? It's just that God doesn't want you to continue along that path for too long. Let me explain what it means. Assuming we all started out this way, all of us on horizontal dimension, all of what happens after a while, some folks leave the horizontal existence and then they begin to go vertical, all right? While they leave those folks who continue, to live horizontal, meaning those guys stay on the surface of existence, all right? And what do you find on the surface? It's clear here. It says Earth's surface is a field for grain. So if you stay on the surface, the best thing you can have is grain. And what is grain? You're talking about rice, you're talking about beans, you're talking about corn, just things to feed on, to feed yourself, your family. It's some form of living for food, living, just to have your needs met, that's what horizontal living is, It says earth's surface, what you will find there is grain. And there's nothing wrong with grain, like I said. It's just that cannot be all that there is to our lives, what to put, on the table, what to eat, food, and this and that, clothing, God expects you to live beyond that dimension, that realm, all right? God wants you to go for something that is actually much more of value and of worth, because you see, if I put a bowl of grain, or either corn or rice or beans, and I put it on the table, and it's in front of you, okay? And then and I put another bowl here, and then inside the bowl you have gold, you have sapphire, you have whatever, except you are someone like Esau. Only then will you take this. All right. If you're someone who have a Jacob kind of thinking, you will know that you go for something. This is more valuable than this. This might kill your hunger in the immediate, but after it's done, that is all that there is. This will take some level of processing, but it is much more. Do you know, even in ministry, I found out that you can be in ministry just for what you will eat, just for what you will whatever. Because the problem with existential living, whereby you just live for grain, living on the surface, horizontal living, is the fact that once you have your needs met, whatever, you can lose the drive for life. Because you see, it's about me having my needs met, it's about me having food on the table, okay? So once you get to that point, and when that need is met, all right, one of the things that can happen to you is that you can be so comfortable, if that is what you are in, even in ministry for, whereby, it's to have whatever. Once you have maybe one house, two house, car here and there, in a few people, all right, the next thing that happens is you can come to a place whereby you are so laid back, the drive, the energy has been taken out of you. But the Bible says there are some other folks who, when they get to this dimension, it was talking about the fact that, see, this is horizontal, but he says, but the depth is for sapphires and for gold. So we can say this: surface for grains, depth for gold. Surface for grains, depth for gold, depth for sapphire. So these guys begin to dig deep, and then they begin to interact with things that are more of value, significance. They begin to live a life more for significance. They begin to dig deep, and not just, what I can provide for my family, but how can I help somebody else? What can I do? And I'm surrounded with people who every day challenge me, every now and then when I look at their life, I can say, okay, now these guys are digging. And those are the kind of people you ought to surround yourself. Because let me say this: if you surround yourself with horizontal dwellers, after a while you will think that is the norm, that is how life is supposed to be. But if you have folks around you that, while some people are taking hoe and cutlass, and things just to hold the surface, there are other people, there are other folks who are going with diggers, shovels, they have this miner's clothing on, and then you are wondering, are we not all supposed to be carrying hoes and cutlass? Because the folks carrying hoes and cutlass are going for grains, but these guys who are going with diggers, and they are going for gold, okay? So eventually, at the end of the day, our costumes will be different, our orientation will be different, our perspective will be different, depending on whether you're a vertical dweller or you're a horizontal dweller, somebody who just lives his life on the form of existence, food, rice, grain, I want to buy this, I want to have this, I want to that. But there are folks who just goes and say, no, thank God for this, but I want something deep, I want to go much more. Do you know, even in relationships like that you just want, this, dark, tall and handsome, or I just want this girl with hips, and then lovely fingertips and lovely that, and then you see that surface, but you have not learned to probe deeper, to look for the gold, things that are deeper, and that way, deeper, that will satisfy you much more, than what this will provide for you. So this is not for you to feel bad, okay? If wherever you are in life, like I said, we all started our lives, horizontally, but God's desire for you is not to stay on the horizontal existence, but for you to begin to dig deeper and then to go higher, so that you can have, a more meaningful, valuable, and a life of worth. Tomorrow again, we will continue, along this line. God bless you so much. It was a really nice, hanging out with you guys. God bless you.